Kris, can you just give us a thought on the Minnesota Wild, and the way they play, and how that's going to test some of the work you've been doing defensively recently?
Yeah, they've got a very good team, very explosive. They've got some very dangerous players on their first and second line, and also their defensemen, for the most part, all of them move the puck really well and they get involved. And you see, obviously, they're playing very well lately. I believe they've got 11 wins in the last 14 games. And the goaltending that they get when they do make mistakes, their goaltending's been phenomenal during this stretch. So, yeah, they've got a good team. When they do make mistakes, they're getting some really key saves. Yeah, I think the most part, I think with their team, just they've got some very dynamic, dangerous players that you give them an opportunity, they capitalize on it.
You've had a few measuring stick games on home ice here where you've come up significantly short. Do you feel like your team is in a different place heading into this one, and how so?
I certainly hope we are. I think the two of the last three games have been very underwhelming performances by our team against very good teams. Minnesota is one of the best teams in the league right now, especially with the way they're playing. It's going to be another test like we had the previous games. So, I like our energy. I like how we're engaged. We're a lot better defensively. We're tighter. And we're going to need that against this team. They really capitalize on mistakes. So we're going to have minimize our mistakes, but also be in a position to defend after those situations occur.
Kris, your defensive game, as you mentioned, wasn't where you wanted it to be a lot. That Seattle game it was. But the penalty kill specific, going 6 for 6, including almost 2 minutes in a 5-on-3, what did you see that was consistent on your penalty kill that you hope to build on in December?
I think there was just a lot of there was some block shots. There was a couple that I think of, and one nuggy on the 5-on-3. But everyone just being on their toes, ready to attack, especially on loose pucks. A team has a shot. It's a 5-on-4. You probably have to give up something, and you try to minimize what that shot looks like, and it's not a dangerous shot. But anytime there was a loose puck, I thought we did a really good job of attacking that puck and getting some clears, getting that puck down the ice. And usually when things break down, I think about our two power play goals against Seattle. We recovered pucks and then scored. I think for us, the key for us having those kills were we were able to get the recovers, we were able to get the puck down the ice, we were able to get changes where Seattle didn't win those battles. We did. We ended up extending our offensive zone time and then capitalizing. So, I don't know. I think the biggest thing for us, we didn't change our system, just emphasis on certain aspects. I think it was just the players being on their toes, playing on their instincts, and then getting those clears so we can get fresh bodies out there. And that being said, as good as the penalty kill was, it was 100%. But we also had some key saves from our goaltender, and we need that on a penalty kill.
Talked to people in Boston earlier this week about Trent Frederic, and when he's playing well, they felt, he was aggressive, he was assertive, he's physical, and a little bit of an agitator maybe. How can you help bring that out of him? I haven't seen that enough from him.
Yeah, it's a tough one. It's not only for a player to play his best, he's got to be in a position to feel like he can contribute. And whether it's joining a new team or just finding a role or whatever it is, we haven't been able to do that. And Trent's obviously disappointed with his season so far. We do expect more from Trent. We think he's a tremendous player that hasn't played to his potential. And it's on the coaching staff and Trent himself to get that out of him and find out how he can help us win hockey games. And when he is playing his best, yes, he has to be tenacious. He has to be driving the nets and really keeping his game really simple. And, I think just with the circumstances, him signing his contract, and often sometimes when players put more expectations on themselves, what it is just more weight on your shoulders, and it just paralyzes you. He wants to do so much more, but it's kind of getting away from what his identity is and playing to his strengths. So I know Trent will come around, and I know he'll be a key player for us in the future. Right now, we're just trying to get it out of him.
More and more we're seeing, the superstars around the league get on the penalty kill. What do you think prompted that change where they used to not be, you didn't want them to block a shot or get hurt, but now a lot of teams are putting their best scorers out there?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with special teams are so important to success. Your power play, your penalty kill. If you've got a team that's good in those two areas, you probably have a good team that's winning most nights. And the 5-on-5 is often a saw-off. It's usually not determining the game. So, and because the special teams are so important, you want your best players on the ice. And we started the season off having our top guys killing a lot more than they do. They do a little bit now, but we've pulled them back a little bit. But I think it's just the thought of special teams being so important and having your best players in those situations.
When you had them out there, did you see power plays? Like, will you see them react differently, knowing that those guys can really defend through their offensive instincts?
Absolutely. You, as a power play unit, you see two players like that are very dangerous. You are very reluctant to make a low percentage play. You are so careful, and then when you're careful in the power play, you're not as dangerous. And then when you do lose the puck, you're often defending, which isn't often the case when you're playing when you have the man advantage. So there's definitely benefits having your best players out there, but there are some consequences that maybe it affects your 5-on-5 play a little bit.
Kris, a lot of quote-unquote shutdown centers or matchup centers in the league. Like with Joel Eriksson with the Minnesota Wild, what stands out to you or strikes you most about him as a player that makes him kind of effective when he goes out against the top players?
Well, I think one thing is those defensive players don't get enough credit is their offensive ability. As good as you are defensively, the best tool that you can have as being a defensive player is making the other team's best players defend. And I think he's tremendous with the puck. I think he's reliable and can spend time in the offensive zone. And he's not just a checking player. But that being said, obviously I think he's a very smart player. To be a good defensive player, you have to be ahead of the play and know what the other team's going to be doing. And there's not much cheat to his game. But yes, he can make some plays with the puck and drive some offense, but it's pretty reliable. And you look at the best two-way forwards around the league, like, you see Barkov, he can put up offense, but there's not much cheat to his game. And, I think with Eriksson very similar. I think well-rounded, a lot of, very sharp on his details, but not, like any player, no matter how defensively you are. He has a lot of pride in his defensive game, but he doesn't want to sacrifice his, he doesn't want to give up that defensive play with trying to create something that's not there.
How much are you a strict matchup guy or not in terms of do you try to avoid some of those guys, or you let your big guys just say, whoever's on the ice, no matter, I don't want to change my shifts or my tempo with who's out there?
Yeah, well, I'm not sure what they're planning on doing, but we've got two lines that would be considered a top line, and I would say it'd be very difficult to get both our lines away from that one line. So I assume that most of the night we're going to see their top two lines playing against our top two lines just because of how much we both rely on each. So whether we, I don't think it matters so much.
Kris, will it be Stuart Skinner tonight?
Yes.
Thank you very much.